Maybe she's born with it, or maybe it's surgery. Stick around. Today we're talking about all things cosmetic plastic surgery.
Hey brave girl, how you do the things that you do? Don't mind me.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Brave Talk Show, the show for brave women craving the connection that comes with real conversations about the concerns and TMI details we face every day. We're your hosts. I'm Teresa.
I'm Robin.
I'm Brittany.
And I'm Vanessa.
Be sure to subscribe to join our weekly conversations. Today we're talking about all things cosmetic surgery, but first we're going to do our 2 cents in 2 minutes on hot topics that our viewers have asked our thoughts on. So the question is, what's the hot topic?
Spanking!
Oh,
Do you spank your kids? Do you not? Why or why not?
All right, let's roll the timer, please. 2 minutes. I want to hear what Vanessa has to say first.
I don't spank. I think for me, like I said, I grew up in Haiti and you get beat a lot of the time. It didn't really affect me like emotionally or anything like that, to be honest. But with my kids, I believe the way I discipline is just like communicate, because I feel like kids doesn't understand sometimes when they do something wrong, and it is our job to like really take the time to parent them, and that's like make them understand why. And so I feel like we really try to like no spanking, even though sometimes it's like we used to like threat it. No, now we don't even threat it at all, because if we're not gonna do it, what's the point of threatening it? So it's just communicating with my kids like, this is why we don't do this, and so if you do this again, this is the consequence of it. And
I love that.
That's the consequence gonna be.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, Britt, do you spank?
I don't, not anymore. I used to.
Yeah.
I grew up being spanked, and so I didn't ever have a strong opinion not to. But when I had my first 2 little kids, I recognized that I would lose my temper a lot, and that's when I would spank, and I would lose my cool. And I thought, that's not okay. So I just made a goal. Like, I spanked for several years. I think my daughter was probably 4 or 5 before I stopped, where I was like, I just can't control myself. Like, the rage builds up, and so I just have to control myself. And so now I do similar things to Vanessa. We do consequence. We have this whole parenting system that we do that Nicolene Peck taught us. One of these days I'm going to share it with all of you guys. But so no spanking for us.
Yeah, same here. So I grew up being spanked as well. I remember like the wooden spoon. I remember like that was what happened like when you didn't listen. And so when I got into parenting, naturally I like started spanking as well. And almost immediately early on, it just didn't feel right with me. Like I was like, this is like, I'm like hitting my kid to teach them a lesson, and then I don't expect my kid to hit other people, and like this feels like abuse, a form of abuse. And so we stopped immediately. But we did. I was spanked, and I did start spanking, and I do still find myself catching myself like threatening a spank, even though I haven't spanked for years. And I'm like, why do I do that? I know I'm not going to spank, so I'm trying to work through that right now.
Right. All right. Well, I did and still do spank a little, but I do have some rules, and they're very much similar to what you guys are talking about. I read a book, and I'm going to put the link in the description box below, but it's called Shepherding a Child's Heart. And the big thing on that is, yes, spanking can work and can be effective and not abusive if done in the right context with the right frame of mind, and for certain ages. So it's only for the more younger, before like a lot of conversations and things like that just aren't as effective. You cannot do it in anger.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, okay, you did this, there is this consequence. If you do feel anger, like you don't spank at that moment. It's like, I'm gonna take a breather. I want you to go sit down and just think about what you did. And then when the emotions have calmed down, then you can go in there. It's a quick swat to the back, the behind, the fatty part, no other places. And it ends with hugs and forgiveness and a conversation about what happened. And then after, about age 5, 6, when they're able to handle more logical conversations about consequences and natural consequences, then that kind of fades out. So we're at the very tail end with my daughter, and it's not something that we do all the time. It's really only in certain situations where the conversations are not working, and so we need a quick one. But again, no anger. That is the big key, and hugs and forgiveness and all of that afterward.
Yeah, but I think a lot of spanking come out of anger, and I think that's what parents get.
That's for me.
It came out of anger, and I think one thing you said is like, how are you teaching your kids not? And I think as a parent, we have to think about it. Like we tell our kids, like, don't do this. Stop crying. Stop doing this, and you're stopping their emotion. But like, then think of yourself when you have the moment
We
where you're
model
like,
our emotions.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's just like, don't hit. I'm spanking my kids, and then like they hit somebody, and you're like, don't hit, and you're like,
Yeah.
Wait a second.
that doesn't
exactly.
really work. So yeah.
Jeez, I love learning all these things. Okay, guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but our 2 minutes is up.
I'm proud of us.
We're
We
killing
actually,
it.
I think, made it around 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it was a little more, but whatever.
Let's
It's fine.
cut to the chase. Get it? Cut plastic surgery. Let's go. I like this topic.
All right.
Okay, well,
to the
you've
chase.
been the most open about plastic surgery, so let's start with you.
Yeah, so those of you who follow me or don't follow me, I just had a huge plastic surgery about 6 months ago. I had a major breast reduction, so I have scars from like here all the way to my sternum, all the way up. So I was,
Holy cow.
if you saw the videos, I was an open fish fillet, and I shared it all over social media. Like I was not shy about it. And actually, in 2 weeks from today, I am going in for a second surgery. I am getting my abs sewn together, an abdominoplasty.
Okay.
And which is also a tummy tuck to pull the skin down. I'm getting a second revision on my reduction,
You're making it smaller or bigger?
smaller.
Okay.
Still too big for me. And I'm getting a labiaplasty, actually.
Oh,
Wow.
That's new. I didn't know
What
you
is
were
That
getting
is new.
that.
I just tacked it on.
What
a little a la carte,
What
please.
is that? Like, give us detail. Give us.
A labiaplasty. A labiaplasty. We forget we have producers in here who are men.
We have male producers in
male
this room,
producers.
so I apologize.
They heard it all,
You're
Gainer. I'm
traumatized
so sorry.
by any of this.
A labiaplasty is.
I just wanted you to say it because I know Gainer wants
you know
to know.
what it is. You
I
have
know.
to put me on
I know
the
Gainer
spot.
wants to know what it is.
Yeah. A labiaplasty. I never get embarrassed. Why is this embarrassing for me?
I'm actually shocked at your reaction right now. I thought you'd be like, well.
No, I'm actually shocked too because I'm planning on sharing the whole thing. I just feel like we corrupt our
Give us
poor
viewers
producer.
details for those that doesn't know.
Okay, here I go.
He's a better husband and better brother.
A labiaplasty is reconstruction on your women's parts, your labia. So it can be two things. It can be like trimming your labia minora or your majora, like the bigger the little part.
Yep.
I'm doing like the inner part, just a little trim.
So it's like tightening it up.
Tighten
so
it up a little
No, it's not inside. It's the outside
So
dangler
it's just
pieces.
cosmetic?
Yeah.
It's just looks.
Well, it
Doesn't-
can be functionality. I honestly,
Are you worried about the nerves, like what it would do to it?
no,
Like,
they say that
Okay.
it'll be fine. So to be honest, so I just did that whole laser
Rejuvenation?
vaginal rejuvenation.
Yeah.
Which I really liked, and I asked the nurse there. I was like, "Hey, I'm going under in a couple months. Do you like? What does it look like down there? Do you think I could use a labiaplasty? Because I just had a couple friends who have one." And she's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "If you're already going under, she's like, they could totally fix this up." So I just added it on. My surgeon actually hasn't even looked down there yet, and I'm going for my 2-week pre-op tomorrow actually. And I'm just gonna double check and be like, "Do I need one?" Because like this nurse.
But what is it? What
Said.
does need one mean? Is it for like?
How do we know if we
Is it
need
for
one?
physical? Is it for like actual functionality?
Yes.
Like to help you with your marriage, or is it like just I want it to look prettier
Well,
because
it can
I
be-
want
be
him
taking
to
some
nice-
photos. I don't know.
like what he sees.
It can be both. It can
Okay.
be both. I don't think that I have functionality issues. It would be cosmetic for me. And so I'm actually teetering on that. Like after I found out the price, because I just added it on. After I found out the price, I was like, it's not something that's bothered me, but I'm kind of like, if I'm under, I might as well just take care of it because this nurse was like, you really could use one. You know, things are moved around and stretched out. But so it's on there. I'm going to ask my surgeon, which is Dr. Chittister, this Friday, and just double check what he thinks. But
Well, keep
I
us
just
posted.
I just wanted it on there because you need to like make sure there's time in the surgery.
Yeah.
So now back to your boobs.
Yeah.
How small are you wanting to go?
Yeah, because
You already took off a ton.
2 pounds. You said
Now,
right?
can you explain to our audience who haven't followed you to understand like how
Like
how
why
big
and
were
how,
you
yeah.
before and
Were you
how much
always
did
that
they take
big?
off?
So growing up as like a teenager into a young woman, I actually was completely flat chested. I didn't start my period till I was 16.
Oh, wow.
So I looked like a little girl, like no boobs at all. I was in 11th grade when I started my period, so I started getting curves like 11th and 12th grade year. And so in fact, my 12th grade year, people literally asked my mom if she had gifted me a boob job for my senior gift. Because I just came back that summer and I had a chest.
You were so late.
Yeah, because I was so late. Obviously, I didn't. And they weren't huge or anything, but like for my tiny little frame, it looked as if I had a breast augmentation.
Yeah.
And then, so I would say they weren't big. Like they were normal for my frame.
Like
But
a B?
Yeah, like a B or a C.
Okay.
And as I had kids, every kid, they would get bigger and bigger. So like my sisters, they would have their kids breastfeed and they would shrink down to nothing, just little bags with rocks in them. Not for me. They never got smaller. So I would breastfeed and they'd get bigger. And I'd breastfeed and they would get even bigger. So on my third baby, I decided not to breastfeed because I was like, maybe this is why they're getting so big and they're getting uncomfortable and they're impeding on my,
How big are we talking about?
like,
They were pretty big before your
EFG.
surgery, right?
EFG.
like huge.
You are EFG.
Like,
Where do you
what
even
I'm
find
saying,
bras that big?
Oh, this place is.
at the dress barn. You have to go. You don't get to go to Victoria's Secrets and all this pretty places. You gotta have special order. It's horrible.
Torrid, right?
Yeah. So I was really, really big. And after I had breastfeed, they would go down. Obviously they were big with the breast milk, but like still like double E, triple E, like so big.
Still bigger from the time before.
Yes,
when
and
you
like
went
it
down.
didn't fit my body. Like I have little arms and like I hated them. I was so self-conscious of them. I hated working out. And so on my third, I was like, I think it's the breastfeeding. I'm not going to breastfeed at all.
Okay.
And so I didn't breastfeed, and they still were huge, and they never went down. So I actually decided after my first, I remember telling Johnny after my first baby, I was like, I'm going to have to get a breast reduction. Like, I can't live with these. They hurt me. Like, it would hurt when I would run. It would hurt when I would work out.
and I can imagine just on
my
your
back. I was
shoulders.
going to the
Oh my gosh.
chiropractor weekly. And he agreed. He's like, yeah, like, that looks like it's hurting you. So I kept going for, should I wait? Should I, finish having kids? Ultimately, I waited till I finished having kids. And I got it done like a year after my last child. So you had to be done breastfeeding for 6 months before you could have it done. And so I was right on the list. And they took out 2 pounds. Wow. Yeah. And they lifted, did all the things. And the original plan was it was going to be a stage surgery, because he told me like going from so big to wanting what looks like an augmentation, like high and perky. He's like, that's not something we can accomplish in one time, because
That makes sense.
because we have to like take it down, and then he's like,
See what happens.
Yeah, like they could fall, they could.
Yeah.
And so it was always going to be 2. So the original plan was we would reduce, which was a big surgery. So they couldn't do anything. Like they couldn't do my tummy tuck then, because it was like 6 hours just for this. It was
Wow.
It was 6
it
hours?
was 6 hours, fully reconstructed.
right?
Yeah,
For that long?
I did get some lipo on my tummy as well. I got lipo on my tummy as well, but like I just didn't realize that a reduction is not like an augmentation. Like it was.
Is it more traumatic than an augmentation?
Yes.
Recovery's
my
probably
doctor
harder.
said it's twice as hard, twice as long.
Wow.
And he's like it's not just like a little slit and you put an implant. Like you should see my scars. They go from my sternum all the way up to my armpit, all the way up the breast, around. They take the nipples fully off.
Ooh.
Fully off. Like I have pictures of them off.
That's crazy.
And then they
reattach
take
them.
it all out, put it back on. So it was pretty invasive. I didn't realize how
So this
invasive it
second
was.
surgery, is it going to be as
invasive?
Yeah.
So the original plan was the second surgery, I was going to, everything would have settled, I'm healed, we could see what it looks like, and I do want the high profile. I want them to look
Hey, if you're
fake.
gonna do it, you might as well do it.
Exactly. And so we were planning on just doing implants, but on my 6-month checkup, which was just a couple weeks ago, he's like, I'm not going to do implants on you because you still have such dense tissue that they've already kind of dropped again. And I even have an internal bra, and he's like, they've settled a lot. He's like, I'm worried if we put an implant in, you'll be back to feeling really top heady. They'll settle. So he wants to do a full reduction again. So all the way from here to here,
How
all the way
many
up.
cup sizes are you going to go down from here?
I think
Because you look like about a D now.
I'm about a D. It's so hard because they can't guarantee you a cup size.
Yeah, you just got to just go in
You just
and
got to
see.
go with it. And so I'm wanting a full C. So the plan is again, and he's like, we don't need to put in a an implant because I still have so much breast tissue of my own. Most women are just completely skin, right? And I still have a lot for having removed it. So they're going to pull from the bottom here again, and they're going to pull out another pound or so, which will then lift them up again. I'll get a second lift, and then we're going to fat graft to the cleavage line to look a little more full.
So they're going to put your fat from the bottom onto the top?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that fat could like move around.
I didn't know that they could do a
So
graft
they lipo
like
it. So they lipo it, and then they have a process where they turn it, they get all the impurities
So
out.
it'll go from your stomach to your
He just has
chest,
to
or-
have any place to lipo from, and so he said he'll pull from my stomach. Yeah, so he'll pull from my stomach, lipo it, put it back on top. It will never look like an implant. Like I'll never have that defined shape.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me sad because I did want it to look, because I still have skis, like they still are, I'm like super flat, and then they curve like the teardrop.
teardrop,
Which a lot of women like, but like I do want a chest. I want a little cleavage. But it's the best we can do, so.
I mean, it's pretty great, amazing what they
It
can
is
do
pretty
now,
great,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I feel a little disappointed that I can't get implants.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, no, that's okay because it is something foreign in your body. I get a little worried about breast implant illness, which we can talk about.
Yep.
And if I have the tissue, I might as well use it. I don't think it's going to be exactly what I had envisioned. But like already, if I were to never do a revision, I love these 1,000 times better than when I went in before.
Yeah.
that's good.
Like it is life-changing. And I shared it so openly. I had thousands of women reach out to me.
And that is something that I think is really key here.
Yeah.
The fact that thousands of women reached out to you. And I think that's part of the reason why we are even having this episode.
Yeah.
Because plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery seems to, it's a very, very popular industry, but it's a topic that not a lot of women, especially,
talk about.
and maybe even men actually, want to talk about. It's like this little like secret, like we can't, we don't want anybody to know that we had this done. And I think the heart of our show really is, let's talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about, and let's make it comfortable.
Yeah.
And why? Like, why do we keep it a secret? Why do we not want to talk about it, but we still do it?
Yeah.
Those types of things,
I think
right?
culturally, my mom was like, "You're really gonna tell people you had this done?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "You're really gonna show your breast to 70,000 people?" I'm like, "Yeah."
So your audience is like 99.9% women, which I think
100%.
Makes a difference.
Right, for sure. And obviously, I bleeped out the nipples and stuff. But like, if you
said graphic, like warning graphic on the next slide.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at it like I didn't feel sexually about it at all posting. Like, it was like science to me. And I was like proud that like, I thought it was so cool that like, it changed my life. Like it was really
It was a good decision.
functional for me, And so I wanted to share that. And I'm not kidding. Like, probably out of all the things I've shared over social media the last 3 years, that one I got the most messages. Women were like, I never knew that was possible. I have the same problem, and you finally given me courage to do it. I have done it. It also changed my life. Like, it was really educational, I feel like.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's interesting that you had mentioned about your fear of a breast implant illness. That's the only reason why I don't think I ever did anything for myself, is because my mom actually got breast implant illness. My mom almost died.
Really?
Yeah, when I was 13 years old, she almost, like, I would say for about a year, maybe two after, like age 13 to 14, I pretty much had to like take care of my brothers and sisters. My stepdad would go to work, and my mom was bedridden with breast implant illness. And it traumatized me, know? So when all of my friends, because it was very popular in the late 90s when I graduated high school, and at that time it was popular to like get big ones, right?
Yeah.
Like now I think we've calmed down on it. Now when I see women with like these ridiculous ones, I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but so that was kind of, everybody was doing that. And for a self-conscious 17, 18-year-old girl who was skinny then, just like I'm skinny now, very flat-chested, I'm like double A on a good day.
Yeah.
There was a desire to want to look a certain way, but because of what happened with my mom, I just couldn't do it. But so what happened with her is she got hers silicone done in the 80s. And hers was a similar case to what you hear a lot of other people, where she was actually very well endowed naturally, but she 3 babies. They shrank, and she just didn't feel like herself. She looked in the mirror and she was like, this is not me. Like, I don't look like this. So she got silicone implants, and she had no idea that for the 8 years they were in her body, that they were leaking silicone into her body. And so
She
her
had them
body,
for 8 years?
8 years leaking in. And so it ended with when she discovered that there was a problem. She was on the beach in Huntington Beach, California, and she all of a sudden was paralyzed, and she could not move. They had to take her out. The hospital had to come and take her out on a stretcher, and all sorts of procedures. And then when they finally discovered it was her implants, they went to go take it out, and it was just like completely cobwebbed throughout her body. The silicone was gone. I mean, her body had already digested it and all of that kind of stuff. And so it led to lupus, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, all these autoimmune conditions. She was part of that whole lawsuit. I'm not sure if you guys know, there was a huge lawsuit in the 90s for women that were,
oh my gosh.
like fighting against these silicone companies. So, yes, long story
That's a
short,
big
she
deal.
survived. Alternative medicine, which has been influential in my life, is what saved her. So I ain't getting any breast implants.
No, that I would see why.
And,
Yeah.
I'm sure the technology has come a long way since, but it almost, for me, I almost feel like it would be, from my family, like a direct, almost attack on my mom, on what she went through for me to go and do it.
Right.
So I just, what? I'm 41. I've made it this far in life. I'm going to be all right. So
I think you're good.
a little padded bra sometimes, or you know what? Honestly, like, as I've gotten older, I just don't care as much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even wearing the padded bras anymore. I'm just like, yep, this is me.
100%.
Yeah. So
I know 2 women that had breast implant illness, like people in my own life, and I had never heard about it before. And they ended up getting theirs taken out, and immediately they were fine.
They felt better.
Like they started having like autoimmune things and like really bad symptoms, and they took them out, and they're okay.
That's what I have a
But
friend
at the
that's
same time, like I do know technology has come a long
Yeah.
way, because I did ask my surgeon about that. I was a little worried about it, and they figured out a way for them not to leak anymore. It's called the gummy bear. It's basically like if you were to cut a gummy bear, like the kind you eat in half.
it's like solid.
You know how it's like solid.
It's
like
not
that,
liquid.
Yeah, like that's how they are now, and you should be doing you should be getting a mammogram before. You should be getting a mammogram at 5 years. You should be getting an ultrasound at 10. Like, you should be checking up on those things. Most women don't, but yeah.
But with that though, it's not something that's like permanently. At one point, you have to go get it, keep checking it. So it's like I said, you've had surgery, right?
Yeah, let us know how you do it.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Yeah, spill the beans.
I don't
fake.
know. I've never done nothing. I've been lucky, I have a big old butt, a big old boobs, small waist.
Beautiful.
And
beautiful
skin,
Yeah.
like,
So
all right.
Yeah, for
I've
real.
never had to, so I'm like, please. Like all my
Yeah.
friends, like I went to hair school, and so you used to seeing the,
Yeah.
nice,
know.
cool. But
Tell us
go
about
ahead,
yours,
Brittany.
Brittany. How long
Go
have you
ahead.
had them in?
So I got a boob job about 10 years ago. So my second baby was probably 1, 2 years
Okay.
old, something like that. And I had made a conscious decision. I had thought, like, should I wait until all of my kids are born before I have one? And I was like, no, I don't want to wait until I'm old to have. Yeah. So
Nice chest, yeah.
I knew that you could breastfeed after, and so we went for it. And honestly, so I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time, and like now looking back on it, like knowing what I know, I actually just had this conversation with my husband yesterday. Last night we were talking about this, and I wasn't nervous at all. Like that's just part of my personality. Like some things I don't get nervous for. Other things I do get nervous for, but the breast augmentation didn't faze me at all. I was just
you
like,
small?
let's go. Yeah, so I was always, like if I laid down, my ribs would stick out higher than my boobs.
Okay, yeah.
Like it was
You've
so
always
bad.
been flat-chested?
Always been so like,
Oh yeah, when I was pregnant, like you can see these beautiful like profiles of these women when they're pregnant. They got beautiful breasts and then this nice belly bump. Mine was belly bump.
Nothing else.
There was nothing else.
Yeah.
and honestly, like I grew up just making flat-chested jokes. Like that was just part of me. Like I just would tease
You're
and
so
like,
flat, the walls are jealous?
yeah, like
Did you have
all
that
the time.
being told to you when you were in middle school?
the walls are jealous.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody ever told me that one.
Yeah.
I like made fun of myself because I was just like, it doesn't get way of sports. Like I was always really athletic. And so I was like, I'm fine. And then when I got married, I was like, wait, I kind of do want boobs. And it wasn't necessarily that my husband was like, hey, would you ever consider getting a boob job? Like that wasn't what that wasn't how it happened.
For you.
It was for me. And so when I told him that I was thinking about it, he was like, okay, but I don't want you to think that I want you to get it. Like it was really, we had to have a lot of conversations about it because he's like, I would hate if you ever thought that you did it for me.
Right.
And so after contemplating it for a couple years, I was like, no, I think I really do want this for me. Like I think it will just help me feel more feminine because like you said, you didn't start your period till 16. I was a little bit younger than that, but I didn't get any curves at all until I was married. Like I always tease that I had to have sex before my body turned into a woman. Like,
I was the same, actually.
Like my body was just,
I was like a little girl.
Yeah, and I was like always really soft. Like I grew up a little bit chubbier, but it wasn't until I got married that my body kind of slimmed down and I got a few curves, and then I was like, I really would like to have a chest. And so we found an amazing plastic surgeon, and I had some family members that had it and had bad experiences as well, so I did have a little bit of fear around that. But I found a plastic surgeon that I felt so comfortable with, and it was a woman. It was a woman, and she told me, she's like, I told her all of my fears, and she reassured me. She was like, I'm very gentle. She said, I don't manhandle you. She's like, she said, I'm very gentle, and we kind of picked some sizes, and I really was like, I don't want to be too big. That was one of my big things, is I was like, I don't want to be big. I don't want you to look at me and be like, oh, she had a boob job.
And I'm going to let you know,
until you said it, I didn't know.
I had no idea. They're very tasteful.
I think I did a really good job. So I think, and she just said, like, we picked a couple sizes, and she said, I'll just go in, I'll see how big your pocket is, and I'll choose which size.
What does that mean?
Like how much space you have underneath your muscle.
So,
right?
Yeah.
So, and I guess it has to do with your frame, like how large your rib cage kind of is. And what
she did a fabulous job of just picking the size for me and matching it to my body. And like it was really one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like last night, my husband was like, are you going to talk about it on, like, there are people that don't know that you've had it. Like, who are you worried that's going to watch the show? And there are people that don't know that have, like, said things like, oh, I would never get a boob job. Those boob jobs are blah, blah, blah. And they're like, they'll talk about people who've had boob jobs, or they'll judge people. And so then I'll just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The cat's out of the bag.
Not anymore.
And then I'll go home and tell my husband and be like, guess what so-and-so said today? And he's like, they don't know. And I'm like, nope, and they won't.
Until they watch the Brave Talk show.
Until now.
Yeah. Like,
but I was
so sorry.
I've never been
brave and
ashamed of it.
sharing.
Like I've never been, it's been one of the best decisions I ever made. I really, to this day, am so grateful that I did it.
So what do you think is like the heart of the judgment when other women look at other women like, oh, you had this done, I'm gonna, and they secretly judge them? Like, what does?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I judged. Like there was somebody really close to me that had it, and I remember
prior to me getting it.
So when I was a teenager, and I remember saying like, why don't you just love yourself the way God made you? Like just be happy with the way God made you. And she was like, oh, ouch. And then when I turned around and told her, 10 years later, like, guess what, I'm getting a boob job. She was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I had to eat it, like just the humility part of it, where I was like, I do love the body God gave me, and I just want some more. And one of the arguments that I do use for that one is, like, you get braces, right? Like, why don't you love the way God made your teeth?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Good point.
But
like everybody, braces are just
the
super
other side
acceptable.
of it, though. I think the people, because we are gonna have some people that are like way against plastic surgery. Like me, I don't care. But I wonder if like the way to look at it, when you look at, nobody's gonna go get braces just because they want braces. They're gonna go get braces because they want their teeth to be straight, right?
Sure. Oh yeah.
Something is wrong, right? But I think the boob thing has to become something like, I want this because my body, like, you know what I mean? It's more like, it's not medically like you need to have it. It's something
your teeth, you don't need to have braces. You don't have to have them straight.
You need to have braces, but sometimes don't. Sometimes it is purely cosmetic.
Yeah, so I had braces
cosmetic.
like as a teenager, and then I got braces the second time as an adult.
Me too.
Well, because I worked at the orthodontic office, and he always liked to have an assistant in it, but I needed no correction, except I just didn't like, I wanted all my teeth to be in line. Whereas my first orthodontist left my teeth longer, so it was purely cosmetic for me to do it.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is when you look at the cosmetic world, a lot of people, I'm not saying a majority of people that do it is because they want their body to look good. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to California and LA, that's a lifestyle.
Sure.
If you, like, you used to, I'm fine with being flat chested. A person that live in LA, is not okay with being flat chested. They
why I
gotta
don't live
get
in
it
LA.
done.
Yeah.
That's what they're gonna get it done because they want to fit in with the look of what LA is like. But I'm just saying, like, not a lot of people though will be like, I'm gonna spend $5,000 just to get my braces. But I get it. But I'm just saying, like, I think it should be okay. I think that's a stigma why people judge because it's like, oh, why do you not love your body though? But I think it should be okay for women to feel good the way they want to feel good. And if that's an extra, set of babies, like, let's put an extra set of babies. I feel like, I feel like we should be okay with that.
I think a really healthy way to approach, like, if you should get plastic surgery, is go into it from a place of, I already love myself and my body.
Yes.
This will just enhance it instead of like, I hope this fixes what
Whatever.
I hate about myself.
That's the thing.
I hope that after I get these boobs that I feel hot and I feel beautiful and someone wants me and I'm doing it for someone else. Like, that is a really unhealthy place to approach it. And I do know people do that. I've had, friends who've done that. But I feel like if you can come from a place like, listen, I love myself. I'm not doing it for my husband. I'm not doing it for attention. Like, I love myself. If I never had the opportunity to get these boobs, like, I would still be good. But, like, I want this for me. Because I know that it's something that I want. But, like, you just come from a place of, like, healthy, like, I'm doing this because I hate myself. I'm doing this because I think I'll feel better when I'm done. That can be a less healthy
Well, I
place
think there's
to
also
approach.
the dangerous slope with that. Like, if
yeah.
you go in with that mind frame where it's like, I want to fix this, there's always something to fix.
That's what I was gonna say.
The
When is it
list
too
just
much?
gets
Like, when is
longer
it
and
enough?
longer. It becomes, first it's this, and then it's this, and we're going
Yep.
to tack this on, and then this on, and then this on, and
Yep.
you'll never be
And you see
satisfied.
stories of
And
like that.
that's what I was
of
gonna
people-
say. You see that because you start with that one thing, and then it's like, oh, now my lips, and then my eyebrow, my face, and before you know it, you're like,
You don't
Before
even
you
hold
don't
this
even look
person
the
because
same.
you don't know when to stop. So
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you can start looking freakish. Like, there's people
Oh
that
my
I've
gosh.
seen on the street or on TV that I'm like, you
like
clearly
Joan
had
Rivers.
work done.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
and it's like
yeah.
it's to a point where you looked better before, but I don't even know if they realize it because it almost
it's a
does become
mental
It becomes a
thing,
slippery
yeah.
slope.
then the,
Yeah.
it's like when you watch bots, and I think the biggest thing is doctors. Are they coming to put a limit? Because sometimes the doctor may have a limit, and that person go other places. So let's talk about people
Right.
leaving the country to have
Oh,
it done
yeah.
because they want to keep
Because they
having.
know that people will just do it for
We'll
them.
just do it.
Yeah.
Like, so it
I
can
feel like
get
that's
dangerous.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
That's coping mechanisms. That's unhealthy. But
I think finding a plastic surgeon who you love, not just that you think will be okay,
Right.
that you love and you feel so comfortable in, and that like understands your reasoning behind it and is going to walk you through, and even a plastic surgeon that's going to tell you no.
right.
Like,
Do they
to be
do
like,
that?
Yeah,
Are
I
there
was
plastic
kind.
surgeons?
There
Yeah, I
are.
was
now?
kind of disappointed
that's
when my
good. That makes
plastic
me feel better.
surgeon
Yeah.
told
About
me
the
no
industry.
implants, and I was kind of stern. I was like, no, this
Like,
is,
don't you want the
this
money
is
for
my
some
body. Like,
implants?
I
Right.
want the implants, which costs more to get. I'm like, no, I want the implants. I want the higher profile. I want them to stay in place. And he just said, no, I won't do it. Like, for your breast tissue, you have enough. There's no point in putting in an implant that you don't need. And I was shocked. And I still kind of like, I want the implant. But like, I know I trust him. And it also, I think, says a lot that like, he does make more money if he does implants, and he's telling me no.
Right.
So I'm like, he knows what he's doing.
I think you also need to be leery of a plastic surgeon who you go in for one thing and then he suggests something else.
Yeah.
Or she. I had a female. So if you go in for one thing and they're like, oh well, why we're at it if you want to do this and this, and be like, I would be leery. I would
Yeah.
be leery.
Yeah.
So right now, like the BBL are famous.
Which
What's
is
BBL?
a Brazilian butt lift.
butt lift, and
Oh,
we have
thanks
their-
to the Kardashians.
Yeah, so
Yes,
they lipo and they put it in your butt.
And so we have doctors that are coming out saying it's dangerous. It's, it's something that, so what is the mindset, do you think, of women when the doctor is saying it's dangerous, but there's some doctor, because right now it's literally a fad, like it's a thing women are going to do. Like,
Yeah.
do you see the picture of like women on plane? There was just a plane of like women getting wheel on the plane.
Because of her booty.
They just got their booty done.
No, I didn't see
I
that.
didn't see that either.
Like,
I think-
or like the husband putting the back seat down, picking up their wives from the doctor, and they're like laying, because they
On their
can't
face,
see,
they
they're
can't
laying
stand
on the
their
thing,
bum
so
for,
they're
like,
laying
6
like
weeks.
on the back of the car. But
Yeah.
plastic surgeon, like even the botch doctors, they're coming on like, this is dangerous
Yeah.
because we don't know, this is new, but it's like the thing right now. It's
Yeah.
literally.
So I know, so my plastic surgeon, he's done a couple, like he's more well known for mommy makeovers and breast augmentation, but he has done a few BBLs, but he's very safe. Like I have seen and follow other plastic surgeons that have done exactly what I'm doing in one surgery. So cut all it out, reduce, still did the tummy, fat grafted, and labial placing in one. And I kind of was like, well, I've seen those people do it. And he just said, that is not safe on your body. He's like, I don't want you under anesthesia for longer than, 5-6 hours, and you have to be. The recovery is way too complicated with all those things. And so he made me split them up. And I actually, when he told me that, I was bugged. And I actually reached out to a couple other surgeons and just said, what do you think of this? Like, can I do this in one surgery? And one was like, yeah, I do it. And the other one was like, no, he's so smart. Like, spread it out. It's safer to do.
I would think so.
And so I know he does do BBLs, but it's like, if you want BBL, like, I'm not touching your chest at that time. Like, it's one thing.
Well, yeah, where are you going to sleep? You can't sleep on your chest. You can't sleep on your back. What are you going to do? Like, you can't do anything. You just stand there.
Side.
You know? So do plastic surgeons, do they do psychological evaluations before they approve the surgery?
No, but they should.
That's the thing, too. I think it should be done because you do have people that have done it, and you've had people that had regret that they did it. Like, oh my gosh, I did too much work. And it messes with people. Like, I think it should be done. Like even an assessment, just a quick 10 question assessment.
My plastic surgeon actually, I was shocked by that. Actually, one of the first things they asked were like, why are you doing this? Are you doing this to change something? Like, what does this look like for you? What do you imagine when you're done having it? Like, they did actually. And I was kind of like, why do you care? Just give me the things. But they were like, what's your intention behind this? And then they sent me home with a whole packet about mental health. The mental side of having this done. And it was like, one side is like, this is going to be harder than you think mentally. Like, recovery is hard mentally, but also never do this for the wrong reasons. Like, mine actually did talk about that.
That's great.
Well, and it makes sense why he's so well.
That's why he's got
well
a 3-year
respected
waiting
in the community.
Yeah. Because a lot of the time, insurance doesn't cover this, right?
No, insurance didn't cover any of mine.
I think that's a lot of
So I have a friend who actually, I just talked to her the other day, and she told me she went in for a reduction. She was going in 3 days, which was last week. So now she's had it done, and her insurance did cover it because she had so many back problems.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can do a carve out.
So mine would have. So actually, it's actually how much breast tissue you have to take out, and if it's medically. So mine would have been covered, but I don't have insurance. So we do Christian Health Share. And,
I do something similar.
Yeah, and they don't cover it. So I knew I was getting the breast reduction. So I actually was going to sign up for Select Health this last year because I knew. But by the time I paid my premium and how much it actually was cheaper for me to pay out of pocket.
Gotcha.
So it does, but you have to take out a certain amount of breast tissue.
Yeah.
And so some people are like, oh, well, that's too small. But mine was covered,
I think
fully
it's
everything that I had to
take
take
a problem, a medical problem, then you can they call them
if you get a doctor's note, my chiropractor was like, I could write up a note immediately for this to be covered because you come in here once a week. But again, I didn't have insurance. And so I went to look at that and it didn't make sense because what's it called? The thing you paid the whole year?
Your deductible.
Your deductible for my family, it was going to be $4,000, just that. And then to pay all the little payments by the time, it was more than just paying the $7,000 for the reduction.
Gotcha.
So I just paid it.
All
But
right.
it can be covered, yeah.
I have a question for Vanessa. Vanessa's got the booty, she's got the chest, she's got the skin going on. She hasn't had anything done. I want you to imagine in the future, you're older, okay? Your wrinkles are starting to show up. Maybe upstairs
I'm
is not looking as fly as it is now. I know for me, I used to have a booty. That was at least my one thing that I had going on, and I've gotten older and I've lost some weight. And now it's not there anymore. And I'm like, I don't even recognize myself in the mirror.
As a white girl, I'm like, I don't want a booty.
I love
when
my
you say
booty.
that, I'm like, I wish my booty was gone.
I loved it. It was like I was proud of it. And
Cultural
now
is
it's
so
gone.
different. It's so different
I have a
culturally.
really flat bum, but I've been trying to lift weights to get
Well,
a
and that's
little
the
around
thing
it.
is I know I can do. I just if I can do some squats, I just need to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, but my question for you is, if this were to happen to you, lose. You're behind. Your upstairs is not looking as good as it is. Maybe you're a little more wrinkled. Would you ever think about or consider doing anything with any of that?
No, I think for me, I don't have anything against plastic surgery, but I don't like going under more than I have to, and I don't like pain. I don't like being in pain or being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's if it's gone, then it's gone. If it's here, it's here. I'll work out. I'll try to keep it as shape. I always tell my husband, I tease him, maybe I'll do like a lift. And I'm just like, there's no way I'll underfold it. But I always tease him like, I'm gonna perk him up when I'm done with this baby. But like the idea of like, and I think you've read the horror story, and I don't get scared about horror story, but I'm like, I'm okay. Like I'm good.
Well, and you were talking the other day about how you're kind of like ultra safe. You kind of can get a little paranoid about some, like you want everything to be safe and those
like if
types
I don't
of things.
have to, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Like if I
Right.
like have to, then I will do it. But if I like, oh, this is just for, like always, people always like, my husband's like, I'm going to close my gap. I'm like, don't close your gap. Like, you don't need to. Like me, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't need braces. Like I have straight teeth. I love my gap. Like I
I
just feel
love
like
your
if I don't need it, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. So
I love your gap too.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting that you bring that up because I know that, like, I think even somebody in one of our story threads mentioned something about like, did you know that you could, I don't know, they said something about it. But one of the things I've actually gotten really bored of the straight teeth. Like we've been in this like
Really?
in this
She's
Talk about
like
your straight
snaggle
teeth,
teeth.
guys.
well, I'm just saying, like, I have straight teeth. Okay, I'm no judgment. I've had 2 sets of braces. Same thing, teenager, and then as an adult, because my teeth started going buck when I got a little older, and I was like, I need to get those things back in.
Yeah.
But like, you know, braces have been a very popular, well-known kind of thing for the last 30 years, and so I grew up in California, where you know,
It's normal,
you know, and so I'm so used now to everyone having straight teeth. I have a couple of friends who just never went and got braces, and they've got like little fangs over here. You've got the gap going on, and I actually have come to really appreciate it
Gives
because it
character.
gives you character
Yeah.
and personality, and it almost I don't, versus like this kind of vanilla look that's kind of come along with the same straight mouth. So I wonder if there's going to be kind of a renaissance of like
Everyone's like,
you know, like
It's
bringing
right
back
now what
the
you see
natural
with the BBL,
teeth.
like
Yeah.
everybody's looking the same with this dang BBL. You get on Instagram, it's that same high waist, like you know, weird, awkward butt, and you're like,
I need to look this up.
you
I
need
had
to
no
look it up.
idea.
It's
to
the
look it up,
same.
yeah.
You will know because it's just like everybody to look the same. So I think it's great, like you doing it because it's like that's an issue, and it's like
Yeah.
you know, I want something different. I think women should be able to have the option to do what they want, but make sure you put a limit on it because I
Yeah,
think
for
sometimes
sure.
it can be excessive.
Yeah.
So.
Check your mental game.
Let's talk about more cosmetic, maybe not surgery. Like, do you guys get Botox?
Wait, what time is it? We have
Do you
time?
have time? Let me check. Let me
time
check.
is
I know
it?
that's
yeah,
been staying
35.
at 23.52 for a while.
Let's
Where
give
are
it-
we
let's
at?
give it-
Let's give
get
a
3 minutes.
5 minute, a
We
5
do
minute
5 minutes, come
Botox,
on.
lip filler, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Raise your hand if you've ever gotten Botox.
Oh,
You don't do anything. We
How do you
always
not have
make
a
it look
wrinkle
like
on your
Vanessa.
She's
Are you like Tuck Everlasting? How do you have no wrinkles?
I am 33.
Dang.
and there's seriously not a line on that girl's
not a
face.
line on her face. It's
Oh
her
my
turmeric
gosh.
mask.
You know, there's a thing
We
we
need to start
say.
doing
There's
that.
a thing that we
It's the
say.
turmeric mask.
Is
Yeah.
it? Is a thing we say as Black people? Black don't crack. So.
Yeah.
Hey,
There is
okay.
something. There is something to that. There is a. I mean, like, look at Usher, right? Like
Oh,
that man
yeah.
looks the same as he did
And
when I
he's
was in high school.
and
Do you
he's
think
look
he
the
has
same.
Botox though?
But look at
I don't know.
Pharrell.
Maybe
No,
he
he doesn't
has,
do it.
but, like-
Pharrell is like freaking in his 60s, and he looks like he
Denzel
did-
Washington. He looks pretty
Denzel
good.
Washington.
That's
so.
okay. Is that like kind of like
That's what we
normal
always
then?
take
So
pride.
it's kind of
We
no.
took pride of that.
Black
like, black
skin
don't crack.
ages
And then we
nicely.
just don't do a lot to it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Dang.
Well, I do get some Botox done, and I know it's not talked about often. And I've met other women. I'm like, I know you get it. I know it because like they're
Your
smiling, and
faces.
I'm like, I know 45-year-old eyes don't do that.
Yeah.
You know? And then I'll ask them, they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? And I don't say like, did you get Botox? It's more like, hey, so I was thinking about getting Botox. Do you get it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you're right.
See, that's the thing though. Is I hate that. I'm like, if you do it,
Be
own
proud of it.
I will
Own
go
it.
on a show and have 70,000 people know I just got Botox.
Right.
Actually,
Own it,
mine's wearing
yeah.
off. I'm getting it on Thursday.
Okay, but I do think that there's a complete misconception about what it is. For people who don't know what it is, I think that they think it's something that it's not.
Yeah.
They think it's something that you go in and then you look weird and fake, and then it happens right away. No, it takes 1 to 2 weeks for it to actually start kicking in. It's very slow, and it goes away. Like
Yeah, it
people
wears
think,
off.
oh, it builds up. No, it doesn't.
And it goes away different
It goes away,
points
and it
for
goes away
everybody,
between
depending
3
on
to
how
6
fast
months, and then if you want it again, you have to go do it again. For me, so it started with me with our RBF. Anybody know what RBF is?
Resting.
Now, you may not know because
Face.
I have worked on not having it.
It
And
is.
I do have it, and I have noticed. So for me, it's my eyebrows. I'm constantly. You can't tell right now because I had mine done, but I've constantly frowny face. I remember being little, 6 years old. I remember being in my grandmother's house talking to her, and my grandmother, who's Colombian, in her thick Colombian accent, looks down at me and she points her little two fingers and she puts her fingers over my eyebrows and she says, "You don't have to be so serious, my darling. Relax a little bit." And then she puts her little fingers over my eyebrows and tries to, because I have been that way since I was like just very frowny. I think I'm always thinking, and I'll walk around and I'm thinking about things, and I'll walk by and I've had people look at me and go, "Are you okay?" Or smile, smile.
Yeah.
It's a good day, and I'm like, "I'm happy. What are you talking about?" And I've had actually, I think people even think that I'm stuck up. People who are not friendly with me. So anyway,
So you get Botox so you can have friends.
I have.
Hey, heck
So
yeah.
that people, honestly, so that people can see my heart. My heart is much nicer than I look.
That's why I
promise.
got boobs too.
I know.
Just kidding.
That'll just be I did all of this.
Dude, that's
I
so
froze my
Right.
face so people could
So
see
this
my
is
heart.
how I discovered that I should do it. Is that one day I was in my late 20s and I cut bangs, and the bangs covered up my frowny eyebrows, and I started noticing people were smiling at me more. They were talking conversations at the grocery store, the checker, and "How are you today?" And I'm like, "What is going on? Why are
So
people
it was a tune-off. People were like, "Is she
I
like
noticed
approachable?"
that,
or-
they didn't see my brows, and I was coming off a certain way. So I had it done to just like see, and I loved it. And I felt like people were nicer to me. I felt nicer, and now I can be as thoughtful as I want, and no one thinks that I'm being grumpy because I'm not.
So do you
I
guys
really
do
am not.
lip fillers too?
Now, here's the interesting thing, though, is that because I've had it done for so long, I actually need less and less and less, because what happens is the muscles actually atrophy, and then they don't. So if you were to see a picture of me with no Botox at 30, and now here I am at 41, even when my Botox wears off, my eyebrow, my in-between looks better now than it did then, and eventually I won't need it anymore because my muscles there just won't
They're relaxed.
naturally contract.
Well, you hear that like Botox is preventative, and I feel like everyone's like, yeah, whatever, that's just your excuse. But like I've really talked to a lot of people who are like, no, really, like it is preventative. Like it helps.
And it helps with migraines.
Yeah.
My husband and
there you
I,
go.
this was the big fight that we got into, and like I did it behind his back. I went and got
I did it.
Botox behind
my
his back.
husband too.
He didn't like. He was like, I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should do it, and we just kept talking
So
about
he
it.
said no, and then you still went and
Well,
did
he
it?
did it. Like our relationship is, he can never tell me
you no. But I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah, yeah.
He said,
just
"I don't
like,
recommend
he
it."
didn't
Yeah.
recommend it. And
Yeah,
then you went
and
and did it.
we talked
I
heated
did the
about
same.
it, and he was very clear on his opinion, on his stance.
So what was his stance?
And
What,
he just
why
was like,
no?
it's poison. He said, you're putting poison into your body that can't be good.
A lot of people do
And
that.
yeah, and he was just like, it's like, he was so opinionated on it, and he's usually not opinionated on things for me. Like he lets me do my thing, but this, he was like, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it, and I'm going to tell you very strongly how I feel about it. So we went back and forth, and then finally I was like, I'm just doing it without you knowing, and now he knows. Like I've gone back.
So how did it come out? Did you admit to him? Did he find out?
I did.
He probably like, your face is.
He's
not
like, you
moving."
look 10 years younger.
I don't think he even notices, honestly. Like I don't think he notices. But I have teased him since, because he knows that I've gotten it. I've probably gotten it 5 times now. And I've teased him like, you love me more, right? Look, you love me more because
right.
there's no wrinkles.
So what
And he's
part
like,
do you?
"Stop it."
What part do you
I
do?
only get, what is it, like 6 units or something like that in my forehead. That's all.
6?
Like it's
tiny.
super tiny.
That
I
is
don't
not
like,
a lot.
I haven't gotten it anywhere else.
So
It's
you're really wrinkly,
I have
frowny
a
up on
very,
your
I have
forehead.
a bulldog forehead. I feel like you could pick me up by my forehead, be like, drag me around. So that's, and I do, like I love it. Like
I
I
love
love
mine.
it
What do you
so
do?
much. But I
Yeah.
can't get it when I'm pregnant, guys.
I know.
Don't worry, that was one of my first thoughts.
You can
was
cut
like,
bangs. Maybe
Yeah,
everybody will
I
be
know.
nicer to you.
So I never thought my Botox story, I never like would have considered it at the age I'm 32. But I had a friend last year, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and she came around, and I kept looking at her. I'm like, what is different? She looks so much younger, so much like, has she lost like 50 pounds? Like I couldn't figure it out. And finally she's like, I got Botox. And she showed me her befores and after, and same thing. She just looked so much happier and less tired. And so I kind of started thinking about it. I didn't really think that I needed it at the time, but I started asking about it, and more friends that like were around me had done it. So I honestly, it was just like out of curiosity. And I got invited to a Botox party. And I told my husband, and he's like, no, like his things were, you don't need it, and it's just a waste of money. Like it's expensive, you know. He's like, you don't need it.
Well, I guess I don't get very much. I pay $40.
Oh my gosh, yes. So anyways, I did it. I was like, I'm just
facial cream.
Curious. Like I just was kind of curious. So I went, and I only got like 25 units just in my forehead. This was just last year, and I really liked it. And I actually noticed, so I struggle with like acne and like really bumpy skin. And I noticed that when my forehead smoothed out, it looked less acne-y. Like with all the wrinkles, it just like
it brought attention to it.
Yeah, like no amount of makeup or anything. It just, my forehead was always very, very like just like hills and rolls. And when I flattened that out, my acne hid better. And I really liked that. So I got mine, I started a year ago, and I got it like the first time, then it wore off in like 4 months. I got it the second time. And the third time I did do right here, my crow's feet, just like a couple units here, and I really liked it. And I actually did Botox in my lips.
Why?
Because instead of filler, so filler like puts it, you know, filler actually lasts a year, and it's permanent. Like if you don't like it, you have to get it dissolved.
Never been a lip job that I didn't notice you had a lip job.
Exactly, and I didn't like that. But one thing that has always kind of bugged me is when I smile so wide that you can see all my gums. Like I have a really gummy smile. And so they actually put Botox in my lip to relax my lip.
Whoa.
It's called a lip flip. So when I smile now, it doesn't pull all the way back.
Oh, okay.
So you can't see as much as my gum. But because you're moving your mouth muscles so much, it only lasts 4 weeks.
Oh.
So it's a waste of money and time, and it kind of hurts to do it. But like I actually liked it because it relaxed this, so it kind of like, I had a little more of a pouty lip because I couldn't pull it back as far.
Well, on a positive note, just in case you didn't notice this, when I see a gummy smile, to me, it's very youthful. It reminds me of a child smile. And so,
See, I have a really gummy smile.
Isn't it interesting
and
how
that's
everything
youthful.
is just our perception, our culture, our like society today, what we think is beautiful, and the lengths we go to fit into that beauty.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to zoom in, you'll be able to see my nice forehead right now, and then in about 2.5 months,
You'll be able to
see my forehead, because I won't be able to do it again.
Yeah,
You'll
mine's
be able
worn
to
off
see my
within
forehead,
3
what it looks
months.
like after, without Botox.
And we'll start to pick
I
you up
wonder
by your
if we
forehead.
could, if we can send pictures of ourselves without it, and then a picture of us with it, and we could put it on the B-roll for this episode,
Yeah,
so you
let's do
can
it.
see kind of some befores and afters of some of our faces.
Yeah.
Of course, yours would look the same before and after.
Oh,
'cause-
Vanessa.
you could do
Oh, she's an angel.
turmeric
She's
mask
so perfect.
before and after.
Turmeric
Somebody
mask,
switch me
guys.
spots on the
Turmeric.
couch.
I know, right?
So thank you for joining our conversations.
Yes, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification so that you don't miss our next episode.
Are you ready for more? Click on the next video for more brave conversations.
Have some brave topics you'd like us to discuss? Leave your suggestions below, and tell us in the comments if you've gotten plastic surgery or not.
See you next week.
Hey, brave girl, how you